How you doing, everybody? This is your girl Erica from Just Stop Profits with Mr. Diamond Dave, an expert on options trading. As you can see, the stock market's been going crazy this past week, and altcoins have been going crazy this past week. So I decided to bring Mr. David on to kind of give us a rundown of what in the world are we to expect from the stock market in the future and in the fall. And Mr. Dave, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Erica. Glad to be here. My name is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. I'm the founder of the highest paid part-time jobs options training course. Really glad to be back on the show. I want to make sure that we can give your audience some value that they can take into the next week and also take into the future in regards to the gains that they're trying to make in the market.
Mm-hmm. So what are some things that you're seeing? Because the market's been up,
Yeah.
or and some people are like, oh, it's going to crash any moment. And real traders make money whether the market goes up or goes down, and that's something we really don't want. People are not really hearing. So, first of all, could you explain to us what Dogecoin even is?
Yeah, so Dogecoin was what some people call an altcoin. So it's kind of like alternative to Bitcoin, which is supposed to kind of like be the foundational cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
And what, from my understanding, was that it was almost created as a joke, kind of like as something like a humorous idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't really meant to be a utility coin. It wasn't really meant to have an actual use. It was kind of like a joke, kind of like inside the crypto community. And for a very long time, it did not have a lot of value. But what we've seen recently over time is that this particular value has been building up. One of the biggest challenges with this particular coin is that there's so many in circulation. So I heard that there's 129 billion in circulation. So what you have was this altcoin with a massive amount of circulation. I don't believe there's necessarily going to be a cap on how many coins actually get created. However, there's been a run on it lately over the past few months. So a lot of people that were able to get in early are now seeing that I can get some gains out of this coin because I got in when the coin was almost worth nothing. It's kind of now built up. And I've heard people tell me that if the coin gets close to $1, they're going to be a millionaire, because initially what they did was they bought so many early on and they just held on for dear life. And so that's kind of what we're seeing in Dogecoin. And I heard that it kind of lost a little bit of value this weekend. But the way the crypto market is going, especially with Coinbase launching recently their IPO, I think we're going to see the crypto market really take off this year. And I think we're going to see a lot of coins that people didn't necessarily believe had a lot of value. They're going to probably become the next big coin outside of Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum.
So something that always intrigues me about these coins is, where can you use them? Like, where can you purchase something with them? Is that what's kind of holding people back from investing?
Yeah, I mean, to me personally, one of the biggest challenges is volatility. One of the biggest challenges with any of the cryptocurrencies is because of the amount of volatility. So let's take the dollar, for example. We know that if we go into the store today and we see something on sale for, let's say, $3, we're very confident that based on the value of the US dollar, how it's pegged, that if we go back in that store next week, it's going to be around $3, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. The challenge with cryptocurrencies is that because they're so volatile, something could be worth this many of a crypto, and then we could come in next week and it could be 3 times that. And so I think one of the biggest issues that has kept people. So what we're seeing with a lot of cryptos, to be very frank with you, is they're just primarily used for trading purposes. They don't necessarily have a real utilization at this time outside of maybe Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum. Now, there's a lot of arguments for what they're going to be in the future, but I think somebody needs to really figure out how to deal with this issue of volatility, because the Federal Reserve in the United States has done a lot of things to make the US dollar not seem as volatile to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So they can have a lot of confidence that I'm utilizing something that is somewhat stable and I don't deal with price spikes. So the US dollar does go up and down, but you don't necessarily feel like my dollar today is going to be worth 50 cents next week.
Right.
You're relatively certain that if I'm working and I'm receiving US dollars in payment, the value of that is going to be somewhat stable, at least month to month, as opposed to Bitcoin, which we know a few years ago was less than half of what it's worth right now today. Mm-hmm. So if you bought something with Bitcoin a few years ago, if you buy something with Bitcoin today, you could have bought it a few years ago for way, way, way less. Right. And so that's one of the biggest challenges is the volatility. And I think that's hurting the utilization.
So with all these different coins.
Yes, ma'am.
And to me, this is just an outsider, you guys, I did it for 2017. I bought like a piece of Ethereum, a piece of Bitcoin. I literally got an update from Coinbase from my VAs like, hey, you need to log back in. And I'm like, what is this? Right. So I made some money. Right. But I don't see where outside the internet we can use these altcoins, right? What's the game plan future for these altcoins?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know, because a lot of times the creator of the coin with their white paper will kind of specify what the use is. But that's one of the biggest challenges, is that a lot of this has not actually been put into practice on a scale. So the reason why we kind of know that the dollar works is because not only do people have confidence in it, but it's been scaled out, and then we have sustainability or consistency with it. So the dollar is shown to be a valid something that people use as currency over time. One of the biggest challenges is adoption. And I've been telling people for years in the crypto space is that they have to figure out adoption to get it to where the cryptocurrencies are going to be seen, right, as something that people will have a lot of confidence in, because they've been using them for so long. I think that's one of the biggest challenges. So even now, still, like I said, I think most of the cryptocurrencies, they're being used as just a way to speculate and to try to make money on trading activity, as opposed to actually using them day to day like you use US dollars. Because this is the biggest challenge that I have with crypto. What is crypto really worth if we're always pegging its value to the dollar?
Right.
So if we're always pegging that Bitcoin is worth this many dollars, but then we're saying that, well, dollars really don't have value because they're controlled by central banks, yada, 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 then why is that always a point of reference? So I think we can really start making gains in crypto where we're no longer pegging its value to the dollar, because essentially now the dollar, if its reference point, is if we can just say, well, you know what, somebody will exchange this much labor or these many goods for crypto, as opposed to hinging it to the dollar, because we understand that's somebody that everybody already uses as a point of reference.
Right. And that's a good point, because I feel like the whole world uses the dollar because it's what we use for oil prices and exchanges.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happens to us in America if we actually remove the dollar as the standard, right? That's something that's always like blows my mind. Let me see, you guys. Elon Musk, yeah, they're saying Elon Musk is pumping it. $1 is $1. That's right. Let me see. They're like, he isn't breaking any laws. Technically, he isn't breaking any laws. He's not a part of a pump and dump, technically. Let's see. You guys have some interesting comments here. Okay. You know, I am as a person who stands on the outside of it. That's my 2 cents. But Dave, I had one thing I was going to ask you about, and then I was going to let you kind of give us the marketing review this week. Okay. And let me see if I can pull it over. There's a couple articles on it. I don't know if you've been able to see it. It's been getting a lot of traction in the news this past week. Oops, let me share my screen here. This single store. So this, and again, this goes down the rabbit hole, but there's a single New Jersey deli doing only $35,000 in sales. It's valued at $100 million in the stock market. This is the story that's so crazy to me, where basically it's a tiny New Jersey deli with a market capitalization of more than $100 million. Now, some people are saying, and this is tied to the stock Hometown International, which is HWIN, which owns a single New Jersey deli in rural New Jersey. Now, of course, people are saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. So it led the internet to go down the rabbit hole, which I'll pull up the other articles on it for you guys to see what people think is going on. Let me see here if I can pull this out. Let me see if I can share it. Here you go. I just thought this was this week's interesting. Okay. And then let me see if I can get it over here. Okay, so people's theory, this is one of the internet theories, is Robinhood. The FBI believes Hometown International is a Robinhood shell corporation used to launder stolen client money. What are your 2 cents on that?
Okay, I mean, yeah, because like I said, I would be interested to figure out how they actually get that valuation, because it can't. I don't see how it's really based on revenue, or either the multiple of revenue. I don't understand that. It could be what Robinhood is using as a shell company, but we should be able to see through their documents of Robinhood what their actual shell companies are. And then if they're laundering the money, it's possible. I don't think they would do it at this point, because they're going to get so wealthy off their IPO that I don't think they would waste their time with this type of activity. But we've seen far worse or far more interesting things in the corporate space as far as fraud and things of that nature. Um,
Can you see the screen?
I can barely see it. I see the
I'm gonna zoom in. Hold on, I'm gonna zoom in.
Okay.
Make it bigger.
Okay. So 77% of the shares are owned by a firm in Macau and
Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
Okay, so that seems almost like a Chinese. So is it really a Chinese business?
It's an actual location. There's a football coach, wrestling coach, who is the creator of the company, and this is, they stopped by and asked him questions, and he's like, "What are you talking about? I just put it on the stock market." And I think I have the article.
Interesting.
And so the guy's like, sorry, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
No.
Uh-oh. Oh, can you guys hear me? Put a 1 in the comments if you guys can hear me inside here. The reason I bring this up is I think this is so interesting, and how there's probably so many little stories like this that we would never even, it's not until the stock market is so crazy juicy. And this is really what reporters are for. Reporters are to dig and find these juicy stories or things that don't make sense and follow up with it. And so this is why I just saw this and I was like, oh yeah, this is interesting. Okay, you guys can hear me good. Sorry, I'm a little sick, so the voice is tripping a little. Okay, I think we got Dave back. All right, Dave. So
sorry about that.
No worries. I was saying I found this juicy because this is what reporters used to do. Reporters used to go find stories that were like, that don't make no sense. Why is this happening? And that used to be the real role of reporters before, of course, we lost, reporters on big level that like we have now. And so I just thought this was a juicy rabbit hole story for the week.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna look more into that because it's interesting that he has that much foreign ownership. And he doesn't.
New Jersey high school wrestling coach is the CEO of a $100 million firm that owns one deli. It's like, sir, that's off.
Exactly.
And they only did 18,000 1 year. Somebody in the comments corrected me. So yeah, I mean, it's like it's the same thing when I look in California right now when they tell me California is booming, and then you pull the sheets back, and a lot of it is hedge funds buying it or foreign internationals, and so it's kind of like they're finding a place to put their money, especially when, and we'll go into this in another show, but I was listening to these guys saying, if anytime China's having issues and they're like, hey, everybody, let's reinvest back in our country. Well, the people who are business owners are like, something don't sound right. I'm going to put my money anywhere but the country now because you're telling me to do it. So I'm going to put it in altcoin. I'm going to put it everywhere you tell me not to put it. And so I think if you go research this, I think this is kind of one of those. So where there's smoke, there's fire for sure. So Dave, give us your take on the market this week. I just want to hear your take because you're actually out there trading. You're in the stock option market. You have a course on it. And people are always saying, well, what makes more money? Swing trading, options. And I'm like, let's ask people who actually are in the market.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I liked about the market this week is that we started off with bank earnings. And it seems that a lot of the banks, but especially the top tier banks, so the JP, Goldman, BlackRock, they did very, very well. Wells Fargo also did well. Some other banks did well. But what we wanted to see this week was that how would bank earnings do? Because we're getting ready to go into an earnings season. And we kind of believe that bank earnings was going to set the tone for the rest of the season. So the banks did really well. A lot of the larger firms that have a trading desk, they really did well off their trading desk. But what we're looking for in the future is loan volume. So what we're not necessarily seeing over the past quarter was that their loan volumes really didn't go up, and that can really be an indicator of how the consumer's doing. But what they were able to do was to pull a lot of money from their trading desk, and they also were able to take some of their cash reserves and to make sure that they were not in a bad position as a bank. But because bank earnings really did well this week, which kind of pushed up the rest of the market because they did so well, we believe that what we're going to look for is a rollover into the earnings from other companies. Seasonally, the S&P and also the NASDAQ is seasonally, they go up this time of the year. So April's normally a month where you may see a little bit of dip in the middle of the month, but as we get closer and closer to the end of the month, we see it seasonally go up. So we're looking for those major indexes or indicators to continue to move up as the overall market does a lot better. And then we want to kind of see how everybody else reports for earnings, because we're starting to see how companies are starting to look kind of post-COVID.
And earning seasons are when you guys as stock option traders make the most money, or is that just a good time for you guys?
Well, it kind of depends on how you play the market. So we can make a lot of money on earnings if we anticipate that there's going to be a lot of bullish activity in that company leading up. Some people will hold contracts after earnings, even though that could be somewhat dangerous. So, but what we're looking for is that if the market is overall really, really bullish, it can bleed into other areas of the market. So if we believe that the banks can kind of get us off to a running start because their earnings are so well, then the overall market can become bullish. And then leading into other companies that may have to report earnings, it can create a lot of bullish activity, a lot of optimism in the market. And then we as traders can take advantage of that. So what we're looking at as we go into this next week, how does the market open on Monday? Because it looked really, really healthy this week because of the way the banks reported. And we understand banks are so big in our economy that they can kind of be the bellwether for how the rest of the economy is doing.
So the banks, did they do more or less? They had, you said that the loan volume kind of stayed the same. That's interesting.
Yeah, the loan volume really didn't. I wouldn't necessarily stay the same. Some of it really was not as good from like a year-to-year comparable. But with some of the banks, their trading desk and some of the things that they invested in personally as banks did really, really well. I forgot the name. It was either Goldman. I know BlackRock did. I want to say I think it was 1.9 billion over the quarter in profit.
That's
so
nice.
These particular, yeah, that is nice. That's ridiculous. And they have a lot of ties to the Biden administration.
They're buying up mobile home parks and everything else too.
Yeah, so they're doing very good as as they're kind of like their hedge fund side of the investment side, and they also have really big trading desks, so they trade. But what we're seeing is with a lot of the banks that deal with a lot of the average consumers, that their loan volumes aren't really where we think we would want them to be. So we got to continue to observe that our banks are going to get stress tested, I believe, in a few months by the Federal Reserve, and if that goes well, they'll be able to do stock buybacks and start issuing out dividends again. If they have the ability to do stock buybacks and then start issuing out dividends, it's going to make their stock normally in most situations go up.
Right. And so why are they doing the stress test right now?
They're going to do the stress test because the Federal Reserve just kind of has to see how fit that bank is. And it's kind of like a fitness test to try to observe, well, how does this bank have the ability to handle certain scenarios to where we can kind of not necessarily sign off and be confident about the fitness of this bank. So it's really a procedure, but it kind of gives the market an understanding of where do we believe this bank is at from a standpoint of maybe necessarily balance sheet, but their ability to function. And then it kind of eliminates the uncertainty about that institution and all about making sure that the consumer, but the market is confident in the market so they continue to invest.
Right. So
yes, ma'am.
What would be, if they didn't pass the stress test, let's say they didn't, what does that look like?
Well, it would be negative on that particular bank, and it will cause some people to say, well, let me maybe move my money into a different area. Gotcha. So I don't think we'll have multiple banks failing their stress tests. But the biggest thing in the American economy is to make sure that the consumer is confident about the banking system, because we don't want a situation that we had in the early 1900s where everybody tries to pull their money out because they worry about the banks are going to go under. Yes, ma'am. So we do things to make sure that everybody's confident about the market, whether we do stress testing. We have the Federal Reserve come in and add liquidity to the market. We are, the most important thing is that people are confident that if they put their money in this market, they're not going to get robbed, or they're not going to get stolen, that they're not going to get left holding the bag out of something that they could not control.
Right. And so, bank runs is what the word is. Thank you, Roscoe. So fintechs are the future. That's kind of what my belief is. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like fintechs are the future because they're light, nimble, and faster. Even with the PPP, the fintechs came in and were like, boom, 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 boom. And banks were like, hold on, we about to get ready. Well, the second time around, the second draw, they made the fintechs wait and the banks go first. And they still beat the banks like the second time around. And so I feel like banking has to have, somebody said it would be a thing of the past. Well, even now, when I went to a conference, there was a woman there who worked for a fintech, and her whole job is to build relationships with banks. Exactly. She said because they act like we're enemies or competitors, when really we should be working together because we're both financial institutions, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
The FDI insurance protects you from runs up to 250K. Yeah, but then 250K is
that's up to
right.
It's up to, but an FDI insurance is also about making sure that you have confidence.
Yeah.
So it's all a confidence thing. We want to make sure that you are confident with
here.
our market. Exactly. It's all about confidence.
Leave this money here.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we got that. We got the earnings. We got the banks are looking better. What are some other things we need to watch out for this year as we try to move forward? Because I feel like, people are like, man, the stock market's got to crash. And I'm like, actually, it doesn't have to crash depending on different factors, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to really watch the vaccine. I don't know how you can necessarily call it, but as the vaccine continues to roll out in the economy. So Johnson & Johnson having that issue with the vaccine could be a hiccup. We got to continue to observe that. But as more and more people get vaccinated and as more and more people go back to their normal lives, we should see the economy and the market continue just to move up. So what we want to do is make sure that everybody, because what the market hates is uncertainty, and it doesn't like to feel that there's some kind of impending doom around the corner.
Right.
So with the vaccinations and the vaccinations going really well, a lot of people are going to start becoming more optimistic that everything's going to go back to what it was before COVID. And the market before COVID was pretty much running good. So that's pretty much what people are looking for. So as long as we can continue with the vaccinations, we're going to throw some things in there. Like I said, I think they're going to push the energy market up. And what I think they're going to do is they're going to create a scenario to make people kind of run back to the energy market. So you're going to have a few hiccups. But I think overall, between us continue to move the vaccinations out, if Biden's infrastructure plan can get pushed through late this summer, early this summer, it's going to continue to make people more optimistic. And I want people to look for July 4th as a date that I think that the government is going to kind of use as to COVID is over, everything's back to normal. So I think that because they've already stated that they think everything is going to kind of resume by around July 4th. So that being a big important date inside the state.
It was Q4 and Q3. They thought we were going to have up for hospitality and up for travel.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
So if we get July 4th, we know that historically, because people travel a lot, energy normally goes up in the summer because of travel. We're going to get a lot more hotels. I live in an area with a lot of hotels. We get a lot of summertime traveling that goes also into that to the late in the year. So they're going to kind of use it as a demarcation line. So, but we need everything to go well from a vaccination standpoint and for people not to feel like there can be a snapback in COVID. But I personally think everybody pretty much is kind of low key over COVID.
Oh, when I was in Florida, there was I don't know. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know my Florida directions, but there was a stadium, not a huge one, but a smaller one. I think it was high school. And they had a parking lot of line and there were people standing in line to get these shots. And I was telling my Uber driver, whoa, look at all those people in that parking lot lined up. And he said, yeah, they probably work in hospitality or the cruise lines, and they can't go back to work if they don't get the shot. He's like, most people in Florida don't care. These are people who probably have to work in hospitality.
Exactly.
And so when I asked about, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, the cruise lines won't let you come on unless you have a shot.
Exactly.
So, of course, the workers got to have a shot. And he's like, if you're in food, and so especially Florida, I feel like it's a very tourism-driven state. I mean, I don't know everything about the state, but I just feel like it is very tourism-driven.
It is.
So when I saw all the people in that parking lot, it made me sad. One, like they don't have a choice, but two, those are all the naysayers or the bad things people say about Florida. There are people who are participating in the vaccinations in Florida. So people try to act like Florida just out here worse than Texas, just woohoo. And I'm like, no, I saw people lined up. So someone said that oil is going to be $80 by the summer. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think they're going to create an event to push oil back up. So whether it's going to be that Saudi Arabia is going to throttle all their supply, or there's going to be some type of international event between maybe United States and Iran, or maybe United States and Russia, where it's going to push that oil market back up. Because we know that even though everybody's talking about EV, yada, 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 oil is still an 800-pound gorilla in the market. The energy sector is still a big. So they don't want that market to be suppressed for too long. And a lot of it went down because people were traveling less as a result of COVID. So now we got to come up with a reason to get that market back up. And so if worse come to worse, the Saudis will just be like, hey, we're going to throttle our supply, which then will make oil more valuable because there's less supply, then that'll push the market up. Or they may just create another event. If the United States and Iran have a situation, that can make the oil market go back up. But they're going to create some reason to bring that market back up.
I even know this year, Canada is blocking the border with Mexico. You won't be able to fly out of Canada to Mexico. They're so mad about so many Canadians leaving and not coming back, healthcare and all this other good stuff. And I thought, well, that's crazy, because then now the Canadians got to drive over their border and then go fly out of American airports. Do you know what I mean?
Just to get them into Mexico. Yeah.
And so how crazy is that? But also, too, people act like, oh, Texas is just oil and energy. Well, that's not true. We actually have a lot of sectors in Texas, but we do have this huge market of like, Houston's like, oh, thank God that oil went back up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm meeting people who have their oil investment companies, oil and gas investment companies. And even they're like, ooh, we need some more marketing or something. We need some money over here.
because with that oil market, if oil gets high enough, they'll even bring back the shale oil. And,
well, that's because the thing. We have a ton of it here in Texas.
That's what I'm saying. So the whole market, if we can get the energy, sector to get bullish enough again, they'll even bring, because the shale oil works when oil price is high enough, because we can justify the capital expenditure cost.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. So they're going to decide how much they're going to push that thing back up to get everything going. And I really think as its Biden infrastructure plan starts to roll out, it's going to bring the oil market back up, because so much of that plan has to be done, using trucks and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And they're going to also be a big demand for energy for that.
Man, I'm telling you, in the trucking industry, people don't really understand. It's hard for me to describe, but when we had the tariff issue during the Trump administration, they shut down everything. They stopped making the trailers. They stopped making these microtrips. They stopped getting stuff from China. So now, 2 years later, we're feeling it, and even more so. So there are people I know, and myself included, where a truck got damaged. The people like, girl, we don't have the part. We got to order it. It's going to take a month before it gets here. And I'm like, a truck part? And literally, it's like, it's little stuff that slows it up. And on top of that, you're short drivers, you're short labor. Right now you have Elon Musk. He came here and now he posted 10,000 jobs.
Yeah.
And people complain, well, the jobs only pay $39,000 a year. And I go, that's 10,000 jobs Californians lost out on.
Yeah.
That you guys are totally missing the point. There's always, I can meet a Texan every day and throw a rock that only makes $40K a year here in Texas already.
Exactly.
But at least they get to say, I work for the space program, or I work for Elon Musk. And it's a different level to it. So I don't know. We're not going to go bet stock by stock if we don't know the stock. I'll ask Mr. Dave if he knows that stock, but if not, I'm not going to.
GTE stock?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of it. So I know, I'm in XOM really heavily, but I'm not in GTE, so I wouldn't want to speak about it without doing some research in it. Yeah.
So everyone is hiring. Yeah, there's a lot of places hiring, but also when I was in Florida, the guy was like, I can't find anybody to come to work. And at first I was like, oh, it's Florida, it's the summer. But then I was like, oh, stimmy. They got their stimmy, or they got their unemployment. And, this one woman, my friend works at H&R Block still after years of being there. And she was saying how this one woman, husband and wife, got $10K. And she was thinking, oh, they're straight. Their bills are low. They can spread this out for months. And she said she could already hear the husband talking about a vehicle he needed to purchase because it would be better for the family and before they even left the sitting area. And she's like, they don't even understand that this could set them up for months, but people aren't thinking that way. So I think it's going to be hard for people, even though everybody's hiring. What's the incentive, right? I need to stay home with my kid, kind of thing is still being out there.
Yeah. I mean, by summertime, everybody would have run through that money. And then they'll be looking for something, because we're getting ready to roll into the fall. They're going to need that money.
Every year, I'm not trying to be funny, but every year when we would do this book bag drive and haircut drive, we'd see hundreds of kids. All summer, his hair ain't been cut. Yeah. Oh, thank y'all for doing this. And I'm like, how much are boys' haircuts? I got to ask somebody. This girl's like, girl, it's like $10, $20, depending on the barber. And I was like, every day the marketplace enlightens me that there are people who they don't have $10, $20 to cut their kids' hair. So we've got people out here that are really, you'd be surprised. If your unemployment benefits pay more than your job level skills are not high.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it. New stimulus and big tech. September unemployment benefits expire. Yeah. So what other things are you seeing outside the market, or you think that we need to have our eyes up for, or as options traders, people need to like, hey, jump in my course and learn how to take advantage of this new stuff coming in the market?
Yeah, so as an options trader, what I'm really looking at is that we had a lot of people jump into the market as a result of COVID. And certain companies were super bullish because of the options activity. So one thing you got to say about the options market is that if a lot of people take one side of the market makers have to hedge that. Right. And so what it does is it can make that stock go up. It also can make that stock go down. What we've seen with a lot of the companies, especially Tesla would be a great example, is because their options market was so bullish, it kind of drove that company up. And we've seen that with other companies. So if you're an options trader, you can really start to understand how to take advantage of these scenarios to where we understand, because of the activity in this particular area, this is normally going to cause a lot of bullish activity, and then we can take advantage of this as traders. And then because you got a really good fundamental education, which is what I can help you with, even when this particular run may be over with Tesla or company XYZ or company ABC, you can still continue to apply those lessons that you've learned in the market. So one of the things that you want to do as a trader, or just somebody that understands the market, is you want to better make money if the market is up or down. What you don't want to do is be at the way you can only make money when the market is up. And then if we have maybe a 2 week where the market is red, you kind of get scared out of the market, and you got to try to figure out, should I be buying companies while this company's selling off? And so one of the things that you can learn once you learn how to trade is, how do you take advantage of a company going up or down? So I currently am looking at a company called QuantumScape. So this is not going to be investment advice. They've been going down since around 137 in December. They've been constantly been selling off. I believe personally that they're going to continue to sell off. That's not investment advice. But I can figure out as a trader how to take advantage of this scenario, because I know how to make money when a company is red and they're selling off, as opposed to only being able to put my money in a company and take advantage of it when it's going up.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Same thing like Zoom. I think Zoom's going down. Not investment advice, but just outside observing. Once everybody want to go back outside, it's hard to get them back in.
Yeah.
I mean, even right now in Austin, I know you guys are like, oh, Texas. Austin is the blue dot inside Texas. Okay. And Austin board voted, hey, we got to take these masks off these kids. We don't have time in our day to be running around telling kids put masks on. Other counties don't make their kids in the classroom wear masks. They just make them sit out, spaced out. We ain't got time for this. And if Austin, blue liberal Austin, which is like the last place making you wear a mask inside the state of Texas, is like, hey, we don't have time. You're going to see a lot of change this fall. That's all I'm saying. You're going to see a lot of, I don't know if you saw the baseball game, Mr. Dave, that they had the full stadium. They said, okay, full capacities. Texas said we can do full capacity. And every single seat in the whole stadium was purchased. People are ready to return to regular.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I mean, this has gone on a year by now. And it kind of it damaged the people's habits and the way in which they live their life. In certain parts of the country, like Texas, like Florida, we like to be outside.
Yep.
And so to make it to where you couldn't be outside of your house and kind of fellowship with people, that was very disturbing to a lot of people. And so that's the thing, is that there's going to be a big push to get everybody back outside. It's good that we're coming out of this, getting close to the summer. So I would look, if I was a trader or somebody in the markets, what companies specifically can take advantage of these particular scenarios. I know we had a woman posting that her husband is in the RV space. That's going to be one of the areas in which they can really take advantage, because you're going to see a lot more people traveling. You know, and then what are going to be some of the areas in which they're going to benefit from more travel, maybe indirectly, that may not be RVs, like parts suppliers, hotels, things of that nature. Because I think this summer, you're going to see a real big push to have everybody out and around and moving around.
Oh, moving the money around. I mean, I really think when I looked on REI for hiking this summer, I mean, again, I'm going to be out west all for like 90 days. I looked for hiking, lead it groups hiking. Like, so I would be by myself, and now every one of them sold out. Yeah. Every city, every state, Grand Canyon, the Bryce, Utah, Colorado, completely sold out. Right now, Breckenridge just had snow this past weekend. The slopes are full of people.
Exactly.
People are out, and those areas, as far as tourism, definitely need the money for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I see a lot of return Someone said everything is easy when the market has been green for a month, but those red days make a man out of you.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it probably tests a lot of people's emotional, what's the word we're looking for? Emotional intelligence or emotional patience. Like, oh my God, I gotta get out. Because some days I watch CNBC News and I'll be like typing and it's in the background and I'll be like, "Will y'all calm down? What's happening?" So then I'll look up and it'll be lunchtime and the screen will be red and I'll be like, "Oh, okay, that's what's going on." Like I'm like on the computer, not listening directly, but I can hear the people's voices. Like, trying to think of what was the big one that was real good. Robinhood. Remember when they had the thing where everybody was like, "Get rid of Robinhood" when they stopped trading for GameStop?
Yeah.
I had CNBC in the background, and they were several companies like, "Hey, like, what are y'all doing? Calm down." And it was almost like a paid commercial. So it was like a company was shorting GameStop, and they were posting them on Twitter. And people were just dragging the company. And then it was almost like CNBC did like almost a paid commercial. Like, "Hey, the company said they quit shorting GameStop. Please stop shorting GameStop." And so it was funny because it was almost like a please, you're killing us here. It was super funny though. I thought it was awesome. Just to see how powerful people can be as a group. This guy said junior mining stocks is a good bet for infrastructure. I don't know.
I mean, and I can understand that because if you're looking at how the cryptocurrency is going to continue to go up, we know that the mining stocks are going to be really, really powerful because they're actually mining the cryptocurrency. So this is not going to be investment advice. I've been looking at a stock called Riot. This is I think it's RIOT, like the word Riot. I want to say maybe a few months ago they were around $5. They're way higher than that now, right? So they're a Bitcoin miner. So it is true. There's going to be a direct correlation between the cryptocurrencies and the mining stocks. As that particular market continues to expand and get bigger, those particular mining companies are going to become more and more valuable. And then we think Coinbase is going to essentially drive that whole market. So somebody was asking me, do I think that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are going to kind of mirror like an ETF? I don't necessarily think that's going to be true, but I think Coinbase, as it becomes more and more successful, and it essentially becomes the go-to broker for cryptocurrency, it's going to push that whole market right in a really, really positive direction, because I think that they are positioned as a company to really be a major player over the next few years in the crypto space. They're gonna have to deal with some competitors. They're gonna have to deal with I don't really know what their USP is, but I think they're gonna pull that whole market north. What I want to tell people is that in that particular space, look for companies that actually have a real business model. They're not speculative, like we don't really do anything yet, but we just got a good idea. I would really encourage people to look for companies that actually have a business model that drives revenue, as opposed to we're speculative. We believe we can do this, but then we're going to start a company and start collecting capital with the anticipation of one day we're going to make money in like 3 years. Because you're going to see a lot of that as that space continues to explode as a result of Coinbase doing so well and pushing that whole crypto space with it.
Well, that's even, when you just said 3 years, it just popped in my head. The average investments, like Nancy Pelosi invested she has an options sell date on Tesla like 2 years from now or something crazy. And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh," right? And I go, most investments and most strategies are 2 to 3 year strategies.
Yeah.
You're not jumping in an apartment complex and be like, "I'm going to sell it next month." No, that's not how that works. You know what I mean? It's a value add kind of thing. SoFi and Apex Clearing will also become major fintech competitors in the future.
Okay.
Possible.
So I would ask them, because I know the fintech space is going to be really big. What I'm looking for is that, are they going to just be competitors to traditional banking? Or like you said before, is they going to try to create relationships and maybe some type of strategic partnership? Because one thing that they have that both sides can benefit from is data.
Yes.
So the question is, with the data that they have on consumers, is that going to force a relationship to where instead of them trying to fight each other, their attitude is, how can we take our customer and put them inside a wall utilizing our data?
And you guys have been putting Dave's course inside the chat. Kingston James said, "What do people expect?" Somebody said before him that people are mad at Robinhood again for Dogecoin. And Kingston James said, "What do people expect from free commission? They have to be making money somehow, and they're selling your data to make up for those zero commissions fees." Miss Lady says she's taking your course, and your IPO course is amazing. It's great.
I appreciate it.
A lot of people say that Coinbase will be an actual bank like Chase is now.
Yeah, I mean they have the ability to, but I think that I like them as a crypto space, not trying to move into like traditional banking, because we understand traditional banking makes their money selling loans. So now, do they want to get into that space? If they do, that's cool, but they probably make their money from selling loans unless they become some type of investment bank where they make a lot of their money from investments and in trading. So I like the differentiation now. I think I see Coinbase as more of a like maybe a PayPal, as opposed to like maybe a traditional bank like Chase.
Yeah, PayPal got so much foolishness on they can't be no bank because they'd have to be telling they'd have to tell you why they're holding on your money for months, right? They do that. There's so many people I could Google all day and night and find. PayPal held my money. I'm like, are y'all making some money off that money? So, Dave, anything else you want to wrap us up with on this week in the Wall Street?
Yeah, so we were talking about where Coinbase did their IPO, and ARK bought, I want to say, 64 million in Coinbase. She bought a lot. She does what she does. She may have bought not at the top. I think they move higher, but at the top for right now. I think they sell off a little bit over time. I want to see them put some earnings reports out. So she bought 64 million in Coinbase. She put it into 3 of her ETFs that she currently controls. And as a result, she sold 95 million in Tesla, probably to free up some of that capital. What I want people to look for is how do we think Coinbase does over the next 90 days? Look for Coinbase earnings. And because the banks did so well on earnings this week, look to find out whether or not the market is going to continue to go green, right? Or does it kind of level off a little bit? But the market seasonally in April does really well until we go into March where it kind of levels off. Also continue to look at, when you're looking at SPACs, and it's something I want people to talk about, if you don't understand their business model, how they actually make money, so not what they're forecasting, how does that company actually make money? Consider if that's going to be a good investment. Because what we're seeing with a lot of SPACs is that they're kind of running the same play where we create a SPAC, we acquire a company, and then what we do is we attach names to it. We use the names to give the company credibility because we're still kind of like pre-revenue.
Right.
And then what we do is that we attract retail investment to the SPAC utilizing the names. So then the retail feels, well, I don't have to do the due diligence to understand what's really going on, because if Erica Williams is in it, it got to be good. And so that's kind of what they're doing. And then they're finding out down the road that this isn't necessarily a really good business, or it's very, very speculative. And they don't really have a really solid business model, right? And then I'm kind of trapped in this company that I got to try to sell out with a loss. So what I want people to really understand is that most companies go public as an exit. Coinbase is a direct listing. Coinbase went public so their original investors could get out. So there was a guy on YouTube, I think he got into Coinbase when it was $5 a share. He's now, I think, a multi-millionaire, if not a billionaire right now. So we got to understand is that one of the reasons why I really want to help people get an understanding of the space is to put themselves in the best position to make money and not just have money made off of them. And so, once you understand the market, then you can make money, but not just have money made off of you, because you understand what's really going on that can kind of sometimes be separate than what the mainstream is telling you through the platforms that we see on social media, but also on cable news.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Yeah, somebody said he's worth $2 billion, but put up a video recently.
Exactly.
The whole ARK thing, to me, that's like, I'm trying to figure out if she is media made or legit she's just picking so well that they're like, this is good. Look at this woman. So I mean,
she's had a track record, so it's not like she came out of nowhere. But I just think, so for some reason they've selected her as the go-to fund manager, even though there's millions of other fund managers out here.
Right.
They've kind of selected her as the go-to fund manager, and I think because, like I said, I think there's a younger demographic that for some reason relates to her, where they may not relate to a fund manager of maybe a different demographic.
Warren Buffett.
Exactly.
Berkshire. Can't even buy a share.
Yeah. And so she doesn't come. She doesn't come across as the greedy hedge fund manager. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. We're kind of like the traditional hedge is a suit guy. They're very stiff.
Wall Street.
Exactly. And they're very, very predatory. So she doesn't come across that way, even though she's still in the same business that everybody else is in.
And the same age group. Like, she's younger, but she's still I think a boomer. I think. I
Exactly.
don't want to be incorrect, but you have Gen X, which is 40 to 59, and then you have boomers after that. So she may be younger than 60. I don't want to
Yes, ma'am.
misquote her, but yeah. Someone says she still doesn't have enough capital compared to the bigger sharks, and that may be somewhat of the
Yeah, that's
underdog
true.
story. It may be some of the underdog story
Yeah.
of managing. So that may be some of it.
Yeah, but it's all relative because to me, if somebody has a fund of 100 million, that's enormous. But then
Yeah.
when you're looking at BlackRock, and I think they manage $19 billion, if not more than that. So it's all relative.
Yeah. What's the name of that company that used to do the military contracting overseas? Oh my goodness.
Was it Blackwater?
Yes. Before they keep changing their name to everything else.
Okay. Yeah.
They're trying to move that name around, so y'all let them leave them alone. But yeah, like the numbers when you hear them, you're like, I can't even imagine that, right?
Exactly.
But even so, just to give you guys, context of when he said, how much you say again? You said 100 million.
I said like, so if somebody told me they were managing 100 million, that's a lot. That's an enormous amount of money to me.
That's huge.
But I think BlackRock, I believe it, if I'm not wrong, they're managing 19 billion, but it could even be more. I know Melvin Capital, that was in Melvin or Citadel, one of the two was managing around $40 billion.
It's bananas.
So it's just, it's just so it's all relative to the size of the fund, because somebody could be like, hey, me and a group, we got a fund to do residential real estate and we got 5 million in it. Well, to me, y'all gonna do y'all thing. With somebody else, a big commercial real estate organization, maybe like they wouldn't even waste their time on $5 million.
Well, the crazy part is I've been in loan proposals and they're like, oh, honey, that's nice, but we don't touch anything under 3 million.
Exactly.
So you're like, oh, okay. Or like, oh, I thought I had this big project. You know what I mean? And prime example, some of the SPACs that are coming out, I think Grant Cardone and Cardone Ventures, their SPAC's only gonna be 10 mil, but it's got his name attached to it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you have people who are doing, like Michael Dell did a $500 million SPAC.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's something about it. Ooh, BlackRock, 8 trillion.
It's 8 trillion. Okay, so it's 8 trillion. So it's 8 trillion. Yeah. So I was too low. I said 19 billion. So it's 8 trillion.
Woo!
See what I'm saying? So it's all and they did. So you're right. So he's right, because they did 1.9 billion for the quarter. So they're managing $8 trillion with a T. So it's all relative.
Crazy. Well, but to me, 100 million still makes her relatable to boomers and Gen X who are like, where can I put my funds, or who can I follow in the market that's relatable? BlackRock ain't relatable to you.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not.
It don't make no sense. It don't even, you can't wrap your head around that. Somebody says she's 65, so that would make her a boomer. That would make her a boomer. 65? Yeah. She dyeing that hair brown real good, because I was like, I couldn't figure it out. I thought she was maybe, 50 something, maybe 49, 50. So yeah, she's a boomer. Yeah. They picked a good one though.
Yeah, she's a, and she knows how to resonate with people. She knows how to not come across as 65.
There you go. That's the best way to say it. Because what I'm seeing is a lot of women who have 401ks. Oh Lord, I gotta, my retirement. There is a sea of women and men who are not married in the later generations. Okay. And this is how they will get their dividends and their payouts from the stock market. So
yes, ma'am.
This is that's cracking me up, y'all. 7 trillion. That's hilarious.
Yes, that's ridiculous. And that's why I was saying we got to start having different conversations about what money actually is. Because when you got a group of people, exactly. When you got a group of people that they're managing $7 trillion with a T, and they're doing $1 billion a quarter of profit. Now, if they did $1 billion in revenue, that'd be impressive. Yeah. That we churned $1 billion in revenue. But the fact that they was able to do whatever they did in revenue and it'll come out with that much in profit over 90 days, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, that's ridiculous to make that much profit.
But, and here's what I was telling people. I was at this event and not smoke a joint. You guys are wow. I was at an event and this guy was talking about something. He was saying something about 6 figures and the guy looked at him like, in a month? And it was so funny because it's like, I wish I could have recorded the whole conversation, because the guy, they're looking at each other with this 2 completely different lenses where he's talking about, oh yeah, we help our clients do this in a year. And he was like, in a month? Like, cause he's in business. And so we were people in there talking about they spending $25,000 a month on advertising. Well, there's people in our society that's what they make in a year, income wise.
Yeah.
So, you know, once you get in different spaces, the money talk cracks me up because I'm like, I could just go run some paid traffic and call it a day.
Yeah, I learned that. I was at a mastermind, and some of the people that you know was at that mastermind, and I was used to people on the internet saying, "No, I'm a six-figure earner. I do 6 figures a year." And I met a guy who, and I'll tell you when we get off the call, I think you're in one of his masterminds, and he was in his early 20s, mid 20s there, and he was telling me he was doing like $250,000 a month in SEO.
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized like it's a different conversation about money, because of some people, like what we're saying is a lot of money a year. They're doing that monthly, if not even 2 or 3 times that monthly. And I was like, man, they look like regular people, but they're doing a ridiculous amount of money. They're doing a ridiculous amount of money in revenue, and they just act like regular folks.
This is, if I could get that myth out of people's head that if you make a certain amount of money, you should be driving these type of cars. I went to an event, y'all. There were at least 20 Black people in there I've never, ever seen on Instagram, never seen on YouTube, making $1 million to $2 million a year. Legit. Like one dude was a doctor. He was like, yeah, I have this course I sell and it makes, you know, 400,000 a year, but I needed to make $1 million. And we just looking at him with our mouth open like, wait, you're a doctor in the daytime. You pre-recorded this course. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the conversations are so, what we think is wealthy and what is wealthy, 2 different things.
Exactly.
2 different things. Like while I was in Florida, the Him 500 conference was around the corner with Floyd Money Mayweather and Rick Ross and Bentley's all over the place. And then I was across town at this event with 300 people in a room, and every single person in there is doing racks on racks on racks.
Yeah.
Looking like somebody's uncle with a Hawaiian shirt on.
Exactly.
I mean, they said everybody dressed down today, and people coming out there still with a button up on and some slacks. Like, is this dressed down? I'm like, no, baby, that's the Hawaiian shirt. Relax. There's just levels to it. There's so many levels to it.
It is.
But you guys have been hilarious. Thank you guys for the conversation in here. Again, Diamond Dave, tell them where they can find you on the internet. And
you can find me on the internet, Instagram, Diamond_Dave. I'm on Facebook as David Williams, on YouTube as Diamond Dave, and look forward to connecting to you. And Eric, I'm really, really happy that you was able to have me on the show. And anybody that's watching this archived for posterity, hope that you got a lot of value from the show. We really endeavor to make sure you get a good understanding of the market and start getting involved and understand how understanding the market can benefit you and your group.
Hey, you guys, when you come on this channel on Saturdays, we'll do our weekend review of the market. But sometimes on Thursdays or Wednesdays, you may see just Diamond Dave here posting videos for you guys. And so I hope you guys can feel comfortable coming on the channel and bringing your questions. And he'll definitely answer them in his videos when you see him. So this is your girl, Erica, from Just Stock Profits. You guys have a great day. Course will be in the links below. Thank you, guys.
All right.